We're back, and our guest right now is Tulsa County Sheriff Stanley Glanz. Sheriff, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Good to have you here. I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been a while, sir.
How long has it been? When did you first go into office?
1988 is when the election was held, and went into office the first part of '89.
Did you ever think you'd be facing a situation like this?
Well, you know, in law enforcement, there's a lot of situations that you have to deal with, and this is one that I didn't look forward to, but I'm trying to deal with it with the best I can and keep the agency pointed in the right direction.
Well, that brings to mind a question that I've got to ask. How are things flowing within the department?
Well, we have a couple of investigations that are occurring right now, and I'm not sure what the results of those will be, but there's going to be a few other changes that occur in the next couple of weeks. And but again, we need to look forward and try and deal with what's occurred. And Mr. Bates has a trial that's pending, and I don't want to do anything that would influence that. And one of the things that I see going on is a lot of media attention, and I wish there weren't as much media attention as we're receiving. Every day they look for a new angle, and
but you understand that's normal.
I understand it's normal, but anytime anyone's tried to talk to me, I've been available to them. They said that I didn't want to talk to the press. That's not true. I'm totally open. And one of the things I've said for a long time, the difference between a chief of police and a sheriff is we're elected, we report to the community, we're responsible to the community, and most sheriffs that I know have their number in the phone book, so you can call us.
When I picked up the Tulsa World, well, before we go any further, we're not delving into a lot of the things that have already been reported simply because everybody out there knows what we're talking about. They all are up to speed. They all have televisions or radios or newspapers, and they've heard it or read it or seen it. What I'd like to do is approach this from a different angle if we could.
Okay.
For example, I read in the Tulsa World this morning that We the People filed a petition to get a grand jury investigation into the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office. This is all an effort, apparently, to get you removed from office. Mm-hmm. Any comments on that?
Well, I've tried to review their petition, and most of it comes from a report that was made in my office several years ago, and I've responded to all those accusations and taken action back then and continue to deal with that. Their petition makes some allegations that I don't think are truthful. There's no allegations of any violations of any law, only policies and procedures that are my policies and procedures. One of the things that the Sheriff's Office has done, we're accredited by the CALEA Commission, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Officers. We follow the national standards set forth by that commission. And all of our policies and procedures are written around those national standards. So anything that we do is based upon professional standards, and if there's any violations of any standard or any policies, they're well within my purview to set and make adjustments to.
A few moments ago, you referred to future events in the Sheriff's Office. You said, if memory serves, there are changes in the works.
Yes, sir.
You at liberty to tell me what those are?
I don't know the results of all the investigations, but we're looking into some things that have occurred, and if there's violations of the law that did occur, we're going to take corrective action. If there's policies that's been violated, then we'll look for a corrective action there.
That brings me to Major Huckabee, who's away for 30 days. Have you talked with him about resigning?
Yes, I did.
And he
in
responded?
fact, I asked for his resignation, and I had other people in the meeting when I was talking to him, and they felt that it wasn't timely for him to do that and for me to stop and look and take some time to review everything. And to be fair to Tom and all the accusations, I felt that that was necessary. and he asked me if he could resign and take 3 months of vacation time that he had. And I said, why don't you just take 30 days, let us look at this in detail, and when you come back, then we'll make the decision.
So it's possible he'll either resign or stay?
It's possible he won't be back. It's possible he could come back. And again, there's other things we're looking at, and that will determine the outcome of Mr. Huckabee.
Is there anyone else whose name might surface that you might want to?
No, there's some that's may surface that you'd be familiar with, but I can't talk about it now. Again, there's internal investigations occurring.
Criminal or policy violation?
Mainly policy, yes, sir.
Okay. I'd be curious to know, I read, and I believe I read this in the Tulsa World, and I truly hope I'm right on this, that you said it's difficult for you to pay for a meal anymore.
Well, for the first 3 weeks after this thing broke, I would go out to eat dinner, and someone would pick up the ticket, and I'd ask the attendant who did that, and they would say, they told me not to tell you, just enjoy your meal.
Sheriff, don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to come at you with a cheap shot, but certainly you have to understand from the perspective of folk on the outside, such as myself, that when we hear of this fellow, this Mr. Bates, who it turns out is a friend.
He's a friend.
But you have other friends in there.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's going, well, it's just good old boy politics at work. Is that the case?
There's friendships, but then there's policy and business, and business is business, and when I see something that I believe's a violation of public trust, then I've taken action. I asked the undersheriff to resign. He was able to retire, so he did that. There were some things going on that I didn't have some knowledge of, and I should have. So when I find those things, I try and make a correction and move down the road.
Better than to look back all the time and
Well,
guess.
we have to look forward, and there's not much I can do about the past, but hopefully we can look towards the future and make some changes that are going to be positive for the sheriff's office, and just doing the right thing, I think, is very important.
I'm a little puzzled. Perhaps you can shed some light on something. I don't understand what Mayor Bartlett is attempting to do. There was an article in this morning's edition of the Tulsa World, and he's talking about more direct control of the money used to operate the Tulsa jail. What's that about?
Well, I'm not sure. I think he believes that the Criminal Justice Authority should have more control over the jail. And when the sales tax was passed, it was passed with a statement that the Criminal Justice Authority would have administrative control over those funds. And what does administrative control mean? And there's been a dispute about that between now the mayor's office and the county commissioners, and who exactly should be in charge of the jail. We've had another sales tax passed since the first one, and that one's totally under the domain of the county commissioners. So why didn't they have that put under the Criminal Justice Authority? I don't know.
Well, and it seems to me like he's standing alone on this issue.
Well, it seems that he is now.
It's rather curious. We got about a minute. Your office tenure ends in 16.
Yeah, 2017.
Actually,
First working day of 2017.
That'll be it for you.
Yes, sir.
As things stand right now, do you plan, are there any plans, do you have a gut feeling that you should, or will you resign?
No, sir, I will not.
Why?
Well, I've been elected for a 4-year term, and I plan on trying to straighten out the problems that we have in the sheriff's office and move forward. I think if you look back, there's nothing we can change about that, but we need to look forward. I think a lot of the answers will come in courts of law. Mr. Bates is facing felony charges, and that has to be resolved, and I'm sure there'll be other litigation following that.
It'd be safe to assume that you, in fact, will probably institute some policy changes?
Could be, yes, sir.
Sheriff, thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate you taking time.
Well, you're so welcome.
Let you get back to what's obviously a very busy situation.
Okay, Sam. Thank you, sir.
Well, after an outstanding career in Major League Baseball, Charlie O'Brien is still a busy boy. And he's next, right after this.